He always thought she was just the quiet girl who answered phones and avoided eye contact. Until one night, after a stormy board meeting, he saw her walking alone under the streetlights, hugging grocery bags to her chest. Out of curiosity, the CEO followed her. What he saw next changed everything. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Blake Maddox had built Maddox Tech from a crumbling startup into one of the fastest-growing private tech firms in America. He'd shaken hands with governors, lunched with billionaires, and buried competitors without blinking. But that Wednesday night, when the city was soaked in thunder and glassy puddles shimmered beneath the streetlights, none of that mattered. Because his attention was stuck on one person, Amelia Ray, the receptionist who sat near the elevators and never said more than 5 words at a time. She wore oversized sweaters, walked with her head down, and vanished the second her shift ended, until tonight. Blake had stayed late for a video call with Tokyo investors. By the time he left, the office was dark, except for one figure moving silently near the front desk. Amelia. Her hair was wet, her clothes were soaked, and her backpack looked heavier than usual. She didn't notice him. She never noticed anyone. She walked straight out the glass doors without an umbrella. That alone stopped Blake mid-stride. But what caught him even more was the paper grocery bag tucked under her arm, visibly soggy from the rain. Where was she going? The voice in his head told him it wasn't his business. But the stranger in his chest whispered something else. Follow her.
So he did.
Blake slipped into his black Tesla, turned off the headlights, and tailed her from a block away. Amelia didn't take a cab or an Uber. She walked, briskly, head low, through alleyways and side streets that most people wouldn't walk during daylight. Her sneakers slapped against the rain-slick pavement, and she didn't seem to flinch when the occasional car splashed water toward her ankles. It was almost like she'd done this 100 times. At the corner of 19th and Bennett, she turned into a dimly lit neighborhood where mailboxes were broken, porch lights flickered, and cracked sidewalks led to houses with boarded windows. Blake frowned. This was no place for anyone to be walking alone at night. And yet, Amelia didn't hesitate. She stopped in front of a pale yellow duplex with peeling paint and a rusted mailbox. Blake watched as she stepped onto the porch, crouched down, and gently set the soggy bag at the front door. She didn't knock. She didn't wait. She just stood there for a second, staring at the door like she was holding her breath, then wiped her eyes and walked away. Blake's chest tightened. He drove past slowly, ducking slightly so she wouldn't see him. In his rearview mirror, he caught a glimpse of an elderly woman cracking the door open, eyes wide in surprise as she pulled the bag inside. What the hell is she doing? 2 blocks later, she stopped again. This time, she walked up to a rundown house with a broken porch swing and no car in the driveway. She pulled a loaf of bread and canned goods from her backpack and set them gently on the steps, then disappeared into the shadows again. Blake's heart started pounding, not from fear, but from something else. From confusion.
From awe.
From the undeniable realization that he didn't know this woman at all. She wasn't just the shy receptionist who kept to herself. She was something else entirely. And he wasn't ready for how far this rabbit hole would go. Blake Maddox had seen a lot in his life. Corporate betrayals, lawsuits, fake tears in conference rooms. But he had never seen someone like Amelia Ray. He couldn't sleep that night. The image of her standing in the rain, leaving groceries like a ghost of goodwill, haunted him. She didn't look for praise. She didn't knock on doors or wait for thank yous. She just gave and vanished. Who does that anymore? By 6:30 the next morning, Blake was already in the office, earlier than usual. He didn't bother greeting his assistant. He went straight to HR. "Give me Amelia Ray's full file," he said. The HR manager blinked. "Amelia? The receptionist?" He nodded. "You heard me." 15 minutes later, he sat alone in his glass-walled office, flipping through a manila folder labeled, Ray, Amelia Grace. What he found disturbed him more than he expected. No emergency contact. No listed parents. Graduated from a small community college. Transferred credits from somewhere out of state. No record of high school completion. Medical records showed she'd once been admitted for exhaustion and dehydration.
Twice.
Within 1 year. Under previous employment. Temp agencies. Grocery clerk. Hotel maid. Dishwasher. All short-term. No health benefits. No recommendations. She'd been working at Maddox Tech for just under 11 months. No complaints. Never took a sick day. No holidays. Blake leaned back in his chair. There was nothing special on paper. But he'd seen something in her eyes that couldn't be filed away. Something cracked.
And kind.
He needed to know more. Not just about what she was doing, but why she was doing it. So he made a call to the security floor. Mason, I need overnight camera access. Specifically the last 30 days. Show me Amelia Ray's activity between 5 p.m. and midnight. There was a pause. Is this a security issue? No, Blake said. It's personal. 2 hours later, Blake sat in the dark watching grainy black and white footage. There she was night after night, staying late after everyone had left. Not talking, not snooping, just cleaning, organizing files, wiping counters, refilling the break room snack trays from her own canvas tote, and slipping small brown envelopes into lockers. Blake paused the footage.
Zoomed in.
One envelope read, "To whoever keeps missing lunch, please eat. You matter."
A.
Inside, a $25 prepaid card and a note that said, "You're not invisible." Another read, "You're doing better than you think." Tucked inside was a handwritten poem and a subway pass. He stared at the screen, mouth slightly open. Who was this woman? And how had he, CEO of a company that prided itself on innovation, social impact, and people-first values, failed to notice her? That evening, he stood near the elevators pretending to check emails while watching her. She moved like she always did, small steps, head down, not making a sound. He called her name. She froze. "Yes, sir?" He tilted his head. "Why do you always leave at the exact same time every day?" Amelia blinked. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out at first. "Because if I don't, I might stay too long." Blake frowned. "Too long for what?" She hesitated. "Too long to keep pretending I'm just a receptionist." He didn't expect that answer. She gave a small, apologetic smile.
Sorry.
That probably didn't make sense. It made more sense than you realize. She nodded once, hugged her sweater tighter around herself, and walked away into the cold. That night, he followed her again. But this time, she didn't walk toward the rundown neighborhoods. She took the subway. He followed, hood up, blending into the shadows like a stranger with no name. She exited near a women's shelter. Outside, a little girl sat on a bench, arms wrapped around her doll. Amelia knelt beside her, offered a juice box and a sandwich from her bag, and made the girl laugh. Just once, just enough to make the wind feel warmer. Blake stood still, watching a woman with barely anything give away everything. And he finally understood. She wasn't trying to be seen. She was trying to save people before they disappeared, like she once had. By Friday, the curiosity inside Blake had turned into obsession. Not romantic, not yet. Something else. A desire to protect, to understand, to pull her out of the shadows she clearly preferred to live in. But he wasn't the only one watching.
Dude.
Did you see the CEO talking to the front desk girl?
Who?
The mouse. Laughter exploded in the break room. She probably thinks she's getting promoted for sweeping floors. Blake heard it. Not through gossip. Through the wall. He stood outside the glass wall of the executive kitchen, watching the sales guys laugh over energy drinks like schoolboys. He knew the type, entitled, overpaid, undertalented. But what enraged him was the ease with which they ripped someone down, someone who'd quietly built an invisible legacy of kindness right under their noses. He cleared his throat and stepped in. Is something funny? They all froze. One dropped his cup.
No, sir.
Just talking about, the Q3 numbers. Really? Blake smiled coolly. Because I could have sworn I heard the word mouse. No one spoke. Let me make something clear, he continued, voice low. Anyone caught belittling another employee, especially someone who works harder than most of you combined, will be out before lunch. No warnings. No reviews. No mercy. Silence. Carry on. He walked out. That afternoon, he called her in. She walked in slowly, clutching her notebook like a shield. I didn't do anything wrong, she said softly. I know, he replied, motioning for her to sit. But someone else did. She looked at him, eyebrows furrowing in confusion. You ever think about leaving this job? All the time, she answered honestly. But I can't afford to. He nodded, then leaned forward. Then let's change that. Amelia stared. What do you mean? I want to move you. Out of reception. I've got a position open in community liaison. It's internal for now, but it could grow. You'd work with outreach, corporate giving, social programs. Stuff that matters. Amelia blinked. I'm not qualified. Yes, you are. She shook her head. I didn't go to Harvard. Blake smiled. Neither did I. But people won't understand. They'll get over it. She paused, the silence stretching between them. Finally, she whispered, Why me? Blake leaned back. Because I saw what you did last night. And because you remind me of someone I forgot how to be. Tears filled her eyes. But she nodded. I'll try. But not everyone welcomed the change. By Monday morning, her desk had been cleared. She'd been relocated to the 12th floor. A window seat. A badge upgrade. A new nameplate. Amelia Ray, Community Development Coordinator. And by noon, the vultures began to circle. They say she's sleeping with the boss. Of course, no one gets promoted from receptionist to executive overnight. She probably has dirt on him. Amelia heard every whisper, and though she kept her chin up, her eyes betrayed her. Blake saw it too, especially when he caught her crying in the stairwell, hiding behind a supply closet with a tissue clutched in her fist. He didn't approach her then. Instead, he called a company-wide meeting. Before we talk numbers, he announced from the podium, I want to introduce someone. He motioned toward the side. Amelia stepped up, hesitant, pale. This is Amelia Ray, he said. Some of you may have only known her as the girl at the front desk. What you didn't know, she's been anonymously supporting food drives across the city, organizing nighttime outreach for the homeless, and personally donating to co-workers in need, without telling a soul. The room was dead silent. She is what this company pretends to be, and I will no longer pretend she's invisible. One man scoffed. With respect, sir, we've never seen proof of any of that. Blake cut him off. That's because she never wanted credit. Unlike most of you. He turned back to Amelia. You still sure you want this job? Amelia swallowed, her voice shaking as she answered. I'm sure I want to do something that matters. And with that, she stepped off the stage. Not knowing someone in the audience had already made a call to HR behind her back. To try and ruin everything. By the end of the week, Amelia had become an unexpected firestorm inside Maddox Tech. She didn't dress flashy. She didn't act like she'd been elevated. She still packed instant oatmeal for lunch and walked home instead of calling a ride. But her new title and Blake's very public endorsement was enough to stir the snakes, especially in Monica Graves. Monica had been eyeing that community liaison role for over a year. She held a master's in communications, dressed in power suits, and played politics like chess. But somehow, this quiet nobody, this receptionist, had jumped the entire line. So she made a call to someone in HR. A friend. A favor.
Pull her background.
Check for discrepancies. If anything doesn't line up, send it to me first. On Monday morning, Blake walked into the office to find Mason waiting. Sir, he said, eyes tight. We have a problem. Blake looked up. What kind of problem? Someone submitted an anonymous complaint. Claims Amelia's resume is fraudulent. That her transcripts are fake. That she never even went to school. Blake's expression darkened. They want her employment suspended while it's investigated. No, Blake said instantly. Don't suspend her. Start the investigation, if you must. But she stays. Mason hesitated. That's not protocol. She stays, Blake repeated, sharper this time. And Mason? Find out who submitted it. Amelia found out an hour later, through whispers, stares, and a mysteriously deactivated keycard that locked her out of the break room. When Blake called her in, she already looked defeated. I'm sorry, she said quietly, sitting without being asked. They found out, didn't they? He blinked. Found out what? She inhaled shakily. I dropped out of high school at 16. My mom OD'd. My dad walked. I was on the street by 17. I forged my transcripts just to get the receptionist job. I thought if I could just work hard enough, it wouldn't matter. Blake exhaled, leaning back in his chair. He studied her face. There was no defensiveness. No manipulation. Just exhaustion. Why didn't you tell me? Because people don't give second chances to girls like me, she said, voice trembling. Especially not CEOs. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'm not people. Meanwhile, Monica's plan was unraveling faster than she expected. Mason found the digital fingerprint of the anonymous complaint, submitted from Monica's desktop. When confronted, she folded fast. She doesn't deserve to be here, she snapped. We work our whole lives to earn what she just got because she plays the victim. Or maybe, Blake said coldly, she got it because she has what the rest of you don't, character. He fired Monica on the spot. And then, he made a phone call to the board. By Friday, Maddox Tech launched a press release. A new community partnership fund, the Ray Initiative, focused on helping at-risk women, dropouts, and the homeless re-enter the workforce with dignity, with training, and with real chances. And standing beside Blake in every photograph, Amelia Ray. That night, Blake drove her home. Not because she asked, because she looked too tired to walk and too stubborn to say it. As they pulled up to her small apartment building, she turned to him. You didn't have to do any of this. He looked at her, rain streaking the windshield, city lights blurring in the distance. I didn't do it for you, he said. I did it because every person in this building could use a reminder of what real integrity looks like. She stared at him. I don't know how to thank you. Blake smiled faintly. You already did. That night in the rain. You just didn't know I was watching. But just when things seemed to be healing, when Amelia started to believe maybe, just maybe, she belonged, her past came knocking. Literally. A knock at her door the next morning. She opened it slowly. And froze. Standing there, soaked, drunk, eyes hollow, was her father. He reeked of stale whiskey and rainwater, the bottom edge of his coat soaked in gutter mud. Amelia's father hadn't changed. Same cracked knuckles, same broken teeth, same rage barely concealed behind a shaky smile. Thought I'd come see how my girl's doing, he slurred. She stood frozen in the doorway of her tiny apartment, heart racing. You don't get to call me that. He laughed. Come on now. I saw you on the news. My baby girl, all grown up, hugging that rich CEO like she's someone important. She didn't respond, just stepped back instinctively as he staggered forward. I need some help, he muttered. Couple hundred. Just till I get back on my feet. Her voice trembled. You've been off your feet for 15 years. He scowled. You got all high and mighty now, huh? Forgot who kept you alive when your mama died. You kept me alive, she snapped. You sold the last blanket I owned for liquor. You locked me outside in December when I didn't clean fast enough. You disappeared on my 17th birthday and didn't come back until I was living in a shelter. His nostrils flared. You always were ungrateful. She didn't flinch. I'm calling the police. Before she could reach her phone, a black car pulled up in front of her building. The back door opened. Blake stepped out. He looked from Amelia to the man on her porch, and something in his gaze turned icy. Sir, Blake said calmly, you need to leave. Amelia's father sneered. Who the hell are you? I'm the man who knows what it means to build something from ashes, Blake replied. And the man who won't let you burn her down again. Blake didn't call the police. He paid the building manager to install a second lock, hired a 24-hour security watch on her street for the next month, and left her with a single promise. He won't touch you again. But the damage had been done. Amelia didn't show up to work the next day. or the one after that. On the third day, Blake climbed the stairs to her floor, knocked gently, and waited. When she opened the door, her eyes were puffy, her voice hoarse. "You shouldn't have gotten involved," she whispered. "I was already involved. I don't want pity." "This isn't pity," he said softly. "This is protection. Something you should have had all your life."
She broke down then.
Right there in the hallway, in front of the man who used to be just her boss but now stood as the only person who hadn't walked away. And that's when she told him everything. How she used to eat from dumpsters behind bakeries. How she kept a journal filled with names of strangers who gave her kindness. One free sandwich, a warm coat, $1 on a cold day. "I remember all of them," she said. "I keep the list. Every time I can help someone, I cross off a name, like I'm paying it forward in pieces." Blake didn't say anything. He just held her hand. 2 weeks later, Maddox Tech hosted its first ever Ray Foundation Gala. The ballroom was packed. CEOs, investors, press, even influencers came, mostly for the brand buzz. But none of them expected what happened next. Blake walked on stage, tapped the mic, and said only 3 words. "Watch this first." The lights dimmed. A video began. Grainy security footage from the office. Amelia cleaning at midnight. Refilling coffee. Leaving food in lockers. Hugging a homeless girl. Feeding a vet in an alley. Standing in the rain, unnoticed, unseen, until now.
Gasps.
Silence. A few tears. And then Blake spoke again. "We spend billions branding ourselves as innovative. But this woman reminded me what true innovation is, changing lives one human at a time." Then, slowly, he turned toward the back of the room. Amelia stood in a navy blue dress. Simple. Modest. Hands shaking. Blake held out his hand. "Come up here." She walked forward under the spotlight. He didn't announce her title. He didn't talk about her trauma. He just handed her the microphone and stepped aside. She stared out into a sea of powerful people, some smiling politely, others stunned. Then she began. "My name is Amelia Ray. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from safety. But I survived. Not because of programs or policies. Because of people. Strangers. Kindness." She swallowed. "And now, I give back. Because it's the only way I know how to say thank you." A pause. "Some of you helped build this company. But kindness built me. And I think it's time we start hiring kindness as aggressively as we hire talent." For a full 5 seconds, the room was silent. Then a slow, building applause began, followed by standing ovation. Weeks later, Amelia received over 4,000 job inquiries to join the Ray Initiative. She hired people who had no degrees but had survived war zones, shelters, addiction, and heartbreak. And on the wall of her new office, she hung a simple, weathered piece of notebook paper. The list. Each name crossed out one by one, until there was only one left at the bottom. And beside it, she wrote the name, Blake. Because he didn't just save her life. He reminded her she still had one.